December 25th, 2024. A Roblox game was launched, and it would go on to win a Roblox Innovation Award and reach 3.4 billion visits in less than a year. But this game is on the verge of losing its entire kingdom. And oh boy, this story is wild. What's up, everyone? It's Bloxypedia here. But first off, thank you guys so much for all the support. It really means a lot, and it shows me you guys actually enjoy my content. But if you're new here, please like, comment, and subscribe to join our little community. But enough of the yap, let's dive into the story that made you click this video. So we all know the game Forsaken, right? The game that launched on December 25th, 2024, that was called Damnation, but then had its name changed to Forsaken because of Roblox's rules and policies. It's a Dead by Daylight inspired game where players play as either a survivor or a killer, with the gameplay revolving around a killer trying to eliminate several survivors in a small amount of time, and the survivors had to complete tasks to try and escape the killer. But the game isn't just a generic horror game. Forsaken's characters actually come from Roblox myths, hackers, admins, and other original characters created by the dev team. Characters like John Doe, 1x, 1x, 1x1, Guest 666, Builderman, Shedletsky, and so on. And the game had this entire backstory about how the Spectre created Forsaken as an eternal prison, trapping these iconic characters in a never-ending death loop. Tragic backstories, ARGs with hidden secrets, characters remembering their past lives. It was too deep for a Roblox game. And within a month, Forsaken wasn't just popular, it was a phenomenon. Content creators were making videos, speedrunners were breaking the game, and the community was thriving. And the game even went ahead to win an RIA award while in alpha stage. Everything seemed perfect. But unfortunately, it wasn't. The game was founded by Ninjakula 1, 2, and was later led by souldrivenlove and Deerpilled. And that name, souldrivenlove, that's where our story really begins. So who is souldrivenlove? We'll call him Soul because it's easier to say. Here's the thing, Soul wasn't new to Roblox development. He formerly owned the account Robotic Developer and was one of the devs behind Friday Night Bloxin before giving the account to someone else. But even back then, FNB had problems, allegations, things that got buried because the game wasn't successful. Soul essentially reinvented himself and came back under a new name and hit it big with Forsaken. It was supposed to be him turning a new leaf, right? A chance to leave the past behind? Yeah, about that. On February 10th, 2025, he made a public confession in the Forsaken Discord server and admitted to committing credit card fraud and lying about his age when he was younger. Now, at first, you'd think, okay, dumb kid stuff. He's owning up to it. But this confession, this was just the tip of the iceberg. Because what Soul didn't mention in the confession was about to come crashing down. It turns out that Soul's actions included cyberbullying, sponsoring pedophiles, and distributing adult content. Then the community started doing some digging and began finding old screenshots, Discord messages, and testimonies from people who knew Soul back in his Robo days. And what they found was horrifying. Here's where it gets really dark. Because while working under the name Robo in the past, Soul secretly cyberbullied and forced lewd stuff on his girlfriend, Scarlett, using his Robo account. And when she was having a hard time, he'd comfort her with his Soul account. Let me say that again. Soul was abusing someone with one account while comforting them with another. That's psychological manipulation and gaslighting at its absolute worst. That's not just toxic, that's predatory. And the community, they were furious. Players who had spent hours on Forsaken, who had bought skins and supported the game financially, felt absolutely betrayed. Because it turns out, Soul was friends with an attempted murderer, which Soul defended. And when that person was hospitalized, Forsaken's profits were used to pay their hospital bills. Your money, the player's money, money spent on skins, game passes, supporting the game, was being used to cover medical bills for an attempted murderer. The Discord was in an absolute meltdown. Thousands of messages, people quitting, content creators deleting their Forsaken videos, the fan base was imploding. And by March 2025, the situation had spiraled completely out of control. Soul tried damage control. He released statements, apologies, explanations, and claimed he was 10 years old when some of this happened, that he was trying to fit in and he didn't understand the weight of his actions. He also claimed the controversies occurred when he was 10 years old and was immature, wanting to fit in. And although he did not realize the seriousness of the acts at the time, he is now fully aware of the situation's seriousness and danger. But here's the problem. None of that excuses the Robo Scarlet situation, which happened more recently. None of that justifies him using game profits to fund an attempted murderer's hospital bills. The PR attempts failed spectacularly. Every statement just made things worse. Every apology felt hollow. And on March 17th, 2025, Soul announced that Forsaken would go on an indefinite break because they were overwhelmed by all the allegations coming out. But the community wasn't letting this go. YouTubers were making scandal videos, documents were being compiled with mountain of evidence with things like screenshots, testimonies, and proof. One major YouTuber, Parlo, released a video about the controversy that got over 200,000 views. The Roblox community was watching. Not gonna let this get away. But here's where it gets really messy, and this is what a lot of people don't know. Soul had been removed from Forsaken's leadership multiple times and found ways back. This was a pattern, where Soul got exposed and steps down, things quiet down, and then boom, he's back in control somehow. It's happened repeatedly, and each time there were promises of change. Each time the community hoped things would get better, and each time Soul would find a way back in. It was exhausting for the fan base. It's like watching a horror movie where the villain just won't stay dead. And by May 2025, the community had had enough. On May 28th, 2025, Soul was stripped of all roles and privileges on the official Discord server. The game's leadership was transferred to Basil and Hitoko because of the controversies surrounding the previous owners. Finally, Soul was out, new leadership was in place, the nightmare was over. Right? Oh, you sweet winter child. It gets worse. See, when Hitoko became the new owner, he had originally been giving Soul money during the transition. Then, Soul demanded 25% of Forsaken's profits in exchange for transferring ownership and forcefully signed the contract, saying that if these conditions were not accepted, the game could be sold to a mass-produced game company, damaged or deleted. That's right, Soul was extorting the new owners. Nah, this guy's a menace to society. And when Hitoko said they wouldn't pay Soul anymore because of how controversial he was, and Soul's response was the ultimate petty move. Soul got angry and sold the Forsaken dev team Roblox group to another company instead of properly transferring ownership. Instead of finishing the ownership transfer, though luckily this new owner isn't hands-on with the game, so Hitoko and Basil still basically own Forsaken. Even in defeat, Soul still wanted to find a way to cause maximum chaos and drama. Like, bro, give it a rest. He even attempted to return to the Roblox community on the account The Only Roblox Gamers 2 before deactivating due to further backlash. But every time Soul tried to come back, the community shuts it down. But about a week ago, the official Forsaken Twitter account dropped a bombshell that Kaiser, one of their devs, was demoted from his position and was no longer working for the game due to his association with Soul. Now, Kaiser was a developer on the Forsaken team. He even published Forsaken Archived, a branch of the original game that gave players the experience of what Forsaken was like during its version 1.0.1 update. He was clearly trusted and had significant access to the game's assets and development tools. But Hitoko and Basil discovered that Kaiser had been maintaining contact and association with Soul despite everything that had happened. This was huge because the entire reason for the leadership change was to get Soul out of Forsaken completely. And other team members who were allegedly also speaking to Soul were also removed, including another dev named Vess. It seems like there is a whole network of developers who stayed loyal to Soul even after everything. The community reaction has been mixed, with some people praising Basil and Haitoko for taking quick action and showing that they're serious about cutting ties with Soul. Others are worried that losing multiple developers at once could hurt the game's development, while others are questioning if this is still all a facade and Soul's the mastermind. Either way, the situation proves that Soul's influence over Forsaken was deep. Even after being officially removed, Soul apparently still had people on the inside who were loyal. And the new leaders are doing a full purge to make sure Soul has zero influence over the game moving forward, which, with common sense, it's necessary. But it's also causing chaos because they're losing a lot of manpower in the process. But with all this, it's safe to say Forsaken is in a weird place. The game is still running, updates are still coming. I feel the new leadership is genuinely doing their best. Noli, which is the most anticipated update, is still in development and hopefully is not delayed despite all the drama. But there's this shadow hanging over everything. The community is fractured. Some players have forgiven and moved on. Others refuse to support the game because of its history. New players are hesitant. Content creators are in a tough spot too. But what's funny is that Forsaken had everything. Incredible gameplay, nostalgic characters, deep lore, a passionate community, millions of players, awards, recognition. It should have been untouchable. But one person nearly destroyed it all. A Christmas Day release that became a phenomenon, then nearly imploded because of the person at the top. The horror game with an even more horrifying creator. But what do you think? Can Forsaken truly shed its past and move forward? Should players give the new team a chance, or is the damage too severe? Drop your thoughts and takes in the comments. Share your experiences if you were part of the community during all this. And if you made it through this entire documentary, thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.